Healing with crystals is an ancient practice. Yet did you know that the essence of gemstones can be used in homeopathy? Spiritual awakening, self-awareness, and intuition are some of the gifts that Gemstone Remedies can bring to your life. Homeopath, teacher, and author Giovanna will show you a different perspective on the healing properties of these magical gemstones. Join us in Gemstones and Crystals in Homeopathy and discover the power of Gemstone Remedies.
Hi everybody, welcome to Gemstone and Crystals in Homeopathy. I'm your host, Giovanna Franklin. Tonight I have a really great episode because I have a great guest. But before we get into that, just a quick announcement, because I'm going to launch a brand new course from the 16th of September. It's called Gemstone Remedies for the Aquarian Age. What is it? It's a marriage between gemstone remedies and astrology. So for this adventure, I'm going to work together with evolutionary astrologer Brian Coulter. Brian Coulter was a guest on this podcast a few weeks ago. If you missed that episode, go catch it, or you can check him out. He has a fantastic YouTube channel, Brian Coulter, evolutionary astrologer. So we're going to deep dive into gemstone remedies. We're going to have live sessions monthly following the phases of the moon, and we're going to work with the astrological energy. So we're going to find out how we can enhance or how we can work and ride the energies that the planets are giving us by using homeopathic gemstone remedies. So if you want more information, you can just email me. You can get the full program, info@homeopathyheal.co.uk. So that's the end of the announcement. And now, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mallory McClelland. She is an intuitive healer. She does lots of amazing things. She's going to talk to us about her business coaching using her intuitive, using the energy healing, and family constellation facilitator. So, right, over to you. Hi, Mallory. So glad to see you again.
Hi, Giovanna. Thank you so much for having me.
Right. So first of all, I think everybody wants to know, what is family constellation?
Family constellation is a method that was developed by Bert Hellinger, and he recognized that a lot of problems have their roots in the ancestral line. So it's not that our ancestors necessarily are causing issues for us, but it's more that we're so blindly loyal to our family and we want to belong to our family so much. And again, this is all unconscious, that we often become entangled with the unprocessed traumas that have happened in the family system. And those unprocessed traumas are not something that come to us in a really obvious way, but rather they show up in our relationship to money, or they show up in our romantic relationships, or they show up in our health, and they show up in these different ways. And what the issues actually bring us when we do a constellation for it is we see the way that it can have its roots in unprocessed traumas, especially around things in the family that have been excluded, whether it's an excluded person, an excluded event like a war, or even an excluded emotion like grief or shame, or even an excluded part of ourselves. So when we do a constellation, we bring in the issue and then we see what are the different elements of the issue that haven't been seen yet. And then from that place, we get to see how the client is entangled and what we can do to kind of begin freeing them up so they're more free to live their own life and their own destiny, rather than living the fate of an ancestor, being connected to, war, or connected to something else that's been excluded from the family system.
Right. Okay. So I think everybody can relate to that. We all know in many holistic modalities, past traumas and even inherited. I mean, trauma can be inherited, right? So that's definitely true. So how do you go about this? What's the first thing? What kind of information do you need when you are dealing with?
So I'm an intuitive too. That's actually like my true background is intuition and intuitive work and energy work. And so often what I'll do is if a client has an issue and they come to me and we talk about it, I'll kind of tune into like, what's going to be the greatest solution for them? Is it just going to be like traditional energy work, or is it going to be a constellation? And if it's a constellation, then I always do a family history form where they fill out a series of questions about family history and, you know, things like, how many children do you have? Have you had any miscarriages? Have you had abortions? Was there anyone in the family who died young? You know, what was your family system like? You know, things of that nature. And it really kind of opens up the energy and gives the client a really good picture of like, there's some stuff here that I haven't quite dove into yet. And then from there, constellations can be done privately, so we can do it one-on-one in a session, or they're done in a group. And if it's done in a group, then I gather a group of people together, and those people then would represent the different elements of a problem or an issue, so that the client can see at an energetic level, at an unconscious level, what's really going on here beyond the story that we think, beyond what we know, what's happening here that needs to be seen that hasn't been seen quite yet.
And then how do you, so as a homeopath, okay, then I at some point I will say, okay, take this remedy.
Yeah.
What is your remedy, or is there something that they have to do?
Well, the constellation works on the level of the soul, and because it does, it tends to do a lot of the unwinding for us. But it doesn't mean that there isn't more work that needs to be done to kind of anchor in the healing. And it's interesting. I did a session recently, a constellation for a father, and he was coming to me because, excuse me, he was coming to me because he felt he has a 13-year-old son with PANS, and he's like, I just have no patience for him. And I know that I'm overreacting to him. Like, I'm reacting way worse than I should be. And I need support with this. And when we did the constellation, what we saw was that, you know, he had two parents who were alcoholics. So he often felt unseen and unheard in his family. So when he'd have a request for his son to do something and the son would flat out ignore him or not listen to him or rebel against him, what it was actually activating and triggering was the little boy inside that wasn't seen, wasn't heard, wasn't respected. And so when he was responding to his son and he was overreacting and he was being impatient, he was actually responding from the little boy part of him, not from the adult self, right? So we did the constellation and we were able to see these different elements of like, oh, that's really what's at the root of this issue. It's not that you're a bad person or you're a bad father, but you have a little, you know, an inner child that has such an unmet need, and that's what's triggering this response. But even after that, again, because I'm an intuitive and I'm always kind of paying attention to like the energy, I really felt like, he needs a remedy. And what came to me was Orem. His wife's a homeopath. So I said, look, run it by your wife, see what she says. I said, but the remedy Orem is coming to me very strongly for you. You know, I didn't go into detail beyond that because I wasn't about to sit there and prescribe anything, but that was for him to kind of take to his wife or take to his homeopath and then see what he could do with it. So I believe, and I know personally, that homeopathy, energy work, and constellations work beautifully together, because I see a homeopath and I get remedies, and my constellations will often either mirror the layer that I'm clearing, or they help bring me into the next layer, the next remedy that I'm going to use. So they're just a beautiful complement to one another.
Yes, that's really, really profound, because very often, now for those who don't know, homeopaths, when they take the case and they take down the symptoms, they very often will use some kind of repertorization, and more often than not, it's now a software rather than a book of repertory, as it's called, with all the symptoms, and you check. And so typically a homeopath will input all the symptoms in the software and then see the possible remedies to kind of analyze and get a full picture of the case. And I don't work with softwares, and it's not because I I don't think they're useful is just because I'm not a technical person, but also because very often what happens to me, and it's happened since the very beginning, since I started, is that while I'm talking to the patient, the remedy just pops into my head. And of course I obviously do my due diligence before prescribing, but it's much more intuitive than it is, systematic, which sometimes it's a problem. I mean, for homeopathy, because you've gone through the training and the supervision. I had this, in fact, it's interesting. It was Aurum, which for those who don't know, it's homeopathic gold remedy. And it was the very first remedy I prescribed when I was under supervision, and I was still building my portfolio, and my supervisor was sitting behind me. And I had this mother who was telling me about her son who was suicidal, and he would not see anybody, would not see the doctor, and the GP didn't want to do anything about him because he was already 16, and therefore, for the law in the UK, at least, if you're 16, you're basically an adult. And so the doctor would not come to the house, and unless he decided to get help, he would not get any help. And the mother was absolutely desperate. And Aurum just popped into for something. The mother said something, and I looked at my supervisor, and I said, I know what to do. When it was one of those movie moments, I know what to do.
Giovanna saves the day.
That's it. Yes. But it was bizarre, and it was scary at the same time, because my very first case, what are the chances? I just wanted a nice eczema, a nice skin rash, an easy hay fever case. I didn't know she was gonna. But anyway, so what I totally agree with you that intuition can play an amazing part. And then I continued, and then when I fell into gemstones, because I had this case, this amethyst case that I couldn't figure out in any rational way.
Yeah.
And then she said, oh, I see you've got a nice amethyst pendant. I love amethyst. I meditate with amethyst. I always hold it out. And I was like, could she need amethyst? And I didn't know what amethyst was in terms of in homeopathic terms. I had to get the book. And again, I was under supervision. I had to go back to my supervisor and say, listen, I'm going to give this lady amethyst, but I have no idea what it is. And I did not repertorize. And I'm so sorry. It's really like lazy prescribing, but I really can't think of anything else, right? Yeah. And luckily, my supervisor was very open-minded. She said, you know what, just go with it. And it worked, and it was unbelievable. And that totally opened the new world of gemstones in homeopathy for me anyway. So definitely intuition is a big thing. And I can see that being more and more useful as more and more this energy frequency is becoming mainstream, and less misunderstood. I wouldn't say more understood, because we still don't understand so many things. Right. But it's less weird, which is amazing. So how did you get into this? How did you read it?
So I have a son diagnosed with autism. Before that diagnosis, he had a diagnosis of global motor delay. And, we went to different doctors and appointments, and they just had a very grim prognosis for his life. They said he may never speak. He may need to be institutionalized, just like all these things. And I'm the type of person, the more you tell me that I can't do something, the more I'm going to prove to you that I can. Which I don't know if this is a good thing, but it's served me pretty well in my life so far. So I don't know, just something clicked in me. That mama bear in me was like, I don't accept that, and I don't take it. And you can take whatever you say about my kid and you can shove it up your butt, because I don't believe you. And I know that that's not the truth. Like, my mother's intuition knew that what you're saying as this expert isn't true. And I'm going to prove it to you. So that led me down a path of holistic medicine, where I started learning about diet. And then I learned about, different supplements like fish oil and things like that. And everything I tried, I saw great success with. So I just kept going. And finally, we landed on homotoxicology, which is homeopathic detox. And we were working with Mary Coyle from the Real Child Center. And I got my kid back. Like, the fog lifted, his constipation dissipated using, different remedies and minerals and cell salts and things like that. And I was just like 1,000% a believer in it. So during that time, I was doing a lot for him. I was doing the diet, I was doing supplementation, I was doing detox, but we were also doing energy work. And so she actually held a retreat for autism. I'm like, I have to go to that. I went on that retreat, and I knew the reason why I was
Oh, sorry, you're a bit frozen. Okay, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Okay, I think we have a bit of a technical issue. But yeah, I can understand. I can totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, I can see you again now. Yeah, are you okay?
Sorry about that. I guess my internet went out for a little bit. I'm back.
Right. So you were talking about a retreat that you went to. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't just a retreat. It was to learn this energy healing modality called Innerwise, which was started in Germany by a man called Dr. Uwe Albert. And my spiritual gifts, I knew what I was meant to do with my life. Like, it was like, my purpose appeared in front of me, because it was just the most beautiful experience of connecting and doing energy work. And it was natural. It's like when an artist picks up a paintbrush for the first time, and their soul knows what to do with it. And that was very much the experience that I had. And I realized, oh my God, I am intuitive. I can do this work. I had spent my life thinking like that was something special and outside of me. And it wasn't. And just by learning this, I felt just so empowered on my path. And really, I was not doing it to help anyone else. I was doing it to help my child. It was for our family, and that was it. But as you know, we go through these things with our family, with our child, and all of a sudden you realize you have a bigger calling to help more people. And that's what happened. So then a couple years later, I opened my business, and I was doing a lot of medical intuitive work. I was doing a lot of muscle testing. I was doing a lot of emotional release work, and not just supporting the kids, but supporting the mothers, because the mother burns herself out. She dedicates her entire life to the child and getting the child better. And in the process of that, she loses sight of who she is, and she forgets about her own needs. And so a lot of the work, they were coming for their kids, but really at the end, they're the ones that wound up needing the energy healing and the intuitive work more than anyone else.
Yeah. That's a beautiful story, and it so resonates with me, but also it shows so many things. First of all, that sometimes or very often what we call problems and what we call issues are really gifts in disguise. And also your story is very similar to mine, because when my son was diagnosed with autism and I was asking questions, and the doctors were just shrugging their shoulders and saying, well, you're lucky he's potty trained. So will he ever talk? We don't know, but just have a cup of tea. They give me a leaflet, how to cope with your son. But I was like, sorry, what do you mean cope? And I was asking a question, but why do you think that happened? Where does it come? They knew nothing. But at the same time, they were absolutely adamant that there was nothing I could do. And again, I'm exactly the same. You tell me to do something or not to do something without a reason that makes sense to me, I'm going to go the opposite way, like in a second.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even, thinking twice about it. So, but I went down the rational route. And that's the thing that I learned for myself, that whenever I try to be rational, I was blocking my intuitive side, and I had to literally fall into homeopathy by pure chance. And then this world opened up to me, and I learned about myself as well as helping my son. So that's an amazing discovery. And going back to the family constellation principle, do you think that sometimes we as parents, we have these children because they are here to teach us to get into ourselves, to find our path, to lead us somewhere, to our true self? Is there something like that? Sometimes I think that.
I've worked with thousands of families across the globe, and I can tell you, I've never not seen that be true. Where the child and their and the diagnosis that they're bringing, the hardship that they bring to the family, doesn't serve a greater purpose for the whole family. I've never not seen that be a truth. And I'm not saying that to discount the difficulty and the trauma of what it is to raise a child who's ill or a child who has a disability. I'm not saying it to take away from that, but I've never not seen that there was greater purpose in the hardship. I don't even want to put quotations. It is a hardship. It's a more difficult fate for sure for the family, but I've never not seen something greater come out of that. Giovanna, there's so many moms who are like us. We're doing the career that we're in because our kids brought us to this place. And we'd never be doing this otherwise. And I think about, my God, the world would really be missing out on what we're bringing to the table, on not just the craft that we bring, whether it's energy work or it's homeopathy, but the grit and the experience, and beyond that, the compassion and the empathy that we have for other families because we've gone through it and we lived through it, and there is a difference. I've worked with homeopaths that they have backgrounds where they have experience in working with complex families. And then I've worked with practitioners who actually are the parent of a complex kid. And not to compare, but there is a different level of wanting you to win and wanting you to get better that comes with the practitioner that's lived through it themselves.
Yes, I can understand that. And especially the relationship with the parent, which sometimes I find it hard to convince the mother that she needs to look after herself too. Because of course your instinct is like, no, my child needs help.
Right.
It's more urgent for my child. Just leave me. But so it's there is definitely almost a special bond with my patients and with the parents. So that's really great, because what I like to do and what I'm trying to do, the reason why I'm calling whatever I do evolutionary homeopathy, is because we need to incorporate these things. We need to think in terms of energy, in terms of vibrations, in terms of intuition, and we need to free ourselves. We need to, because we all have this, don't we? It's something that we can all learn, and it's not woo woo, and it's not nonsense. It's real, and I think now we're in the right time. I find the Aquarian age. It's true. This is coming, and it's becoming more mainstream, and more people can understand. It's accepted. That's what I mean. It's more accepted, which is great. So, yeah,
I think the less and less that Western approaches to health and healing, the less that they work, which they're working less and less. We can see this. We see the side effects of medication all the time. And again, that's not to discount the beauty and the innovation of what Western medicine can do. You know, like if someone shoots me in the arm, or they shoot me and I'm bleeding out, I'm not going to go to my remedy cabinet. I'm going to a hospital, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're starting to see that, oh, the antidepressant doesn't work, or the medication doesn't work, or I'm actually getting worse. And it's because the body or the soul or even the family system, there's something bigger there that's been missing. There's something bigger that needs to be seen. And that's the root of it. That's where the healing has to go. Your symptoms are the result of the problem, you know, but they're not the problem.
Yes, definitely. The symptoms are the end,
right.
The end result of something that started way before you even realized there was anything wrong. So that's definitely true. And in that sense, even COVID was a gift, I would say, because it was glaringly obvious. It is now glaringly obvious that there are limitations. And again, I don't want to criticize, but yes, there definitely a lot more people are going down the more natural, holistic route, and that's a gift. So I'm even grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like okay, I'm a glass half full kind of person. So thank goodness. But yeah, definitely. Okay, so I think it's a good time to have a break, and then when we come back, we can continue the conversation. This is getting really interesting.
Okay. Awesome.
OMTimes TV. In my book, Gifts from the Earth, I illustrate the healing properties of 12 gemstone remedies. You will see real case studies from my practice and dive into the wonderful world of gemstone remedies. This is a clear and practical guide on how to use gemstones in homeopathy. Whether you are an experienced practitioner or beginner, you will find this book a fascinating read. Gifts from the Earth is available on Amazon. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Hi, welcome back. I am still with Mallory McClelland. And one thing I wanted to ask you, because I know that one of the things that I like about you is that you have so many different skills and you wear so many hats. And so one of the things that you can also do is use your intuition, your energy healing to facilitate business and abundance. So how do you do that?
Yeah, so I got into this actually because I started out working with like kind of complex kid families only. So autism, pandas, ADHD. And the energy was also leading me to a lot of moms who had their own businesses and they really felt blocked in business and they felt blocked in money. And they thought that it was because, I'm just too stressed out because of my kid's issues. So I can't go and do the thing. When in reality, what it would often show is that the trauma that was kind of blocking them, let's say with visibility, it wasn't because they didn't have time to post on social media. It was because something in their childhood was traumatic, happened, and that trauma was the thing that was making them feel like it was unsafe to be visible, or it was unsafe to share their message, or it was unsafe to put themselves out there. And so what we would see over and over and over again, the same way we can look at a body and the body has certain symptoms, and those symptoms are telling us a story. They're showing us what needs to be looked at, what needs to be healed. We need to go deeper. So it's no different. You think of the body or think of the business like a body. And so the business is showing us, okay, this is where something is not working, or this is where something's not going right. And mentally we may go, it's because I don't have the right strategy. It's because I don't have a lot of followers. It's because I don't have a big email list, whatever the case may be. But when energetically you actually go into it, what you often see is that there's something either in the personal life of the entrepreneur or in the family system, the ancestors, that's the thing that's actually blocking their ability to be successful, or blocking their ability to make money, or blocking their ability to be visible.
Right. That's really interesting. I like the analogy that the business issues are like symptoms. It's like the body. So it's a good way of seeing that. That's really, really good. And again, how do you have, what kind of strategies do you use, or is it a case of making the clients see where the issues stem from, perhaps, money blocks and from childhood and things like that?
Yeah. So the way that I do it is, if a client comes to me and they're saying, I'm having a really hard time, let's say it's just keeping money. Let's say they make money, but they have a hard time keeping it. They just spend it as soon as they get it. What I'll do then is I just connect to their energy and their soul, and I wait for the soul to kind of point me in the direction I need to start looking at. Do I need to look at the family system? Do I need to look at the person? Do I need to look at something that is out of order in the business? And so the way that I work, there really is no strategy, because it's all about being in the flow. It's being very present to what the energy is showing us. And then that's what I kind of follow. That's the area that I go in. So yeah, there is no strategy and there is no formula. Every single person, their money block comes from a different place. And so I have to treat each person individually, the same way you treat each person individually with homeopathy. Yeah. There is no across the board kind of answer,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember when we were proving citrine quartz remedy, because those who don't know, Mallory was in the proving group when we were doing citrine quartz. Sometimes we do remedy provings, and citrine, traditionally, like in crystal healing lore, citrine quartz is the good luck stone, the crystal that facilitates business for, for business people. So it already has this kind of reputation. And then when we tried the homeopathic version of citrine, we all had some kind of dreams about money, or our relationship with money kind of shifted. It was really, really interesting. So do you remember, do you want to say something more about that? Because I remember you had about citrine.
Citrine, I think it's probably one of my favorite remedies I've ever taken to date. It was just such, it felt like a boost of like vitality, but also for me, when I was doing the proving, I felt very powerful. I felt powerful in my business. I felt powerful in my life. I felt powerful in my body. So like typical insecurities that I may have, I didn't really feel. So for me, it's very much an energy and a stone of personal power as well. And let's face it, when you're in your power and you're feeling good and you're feeling confident, it's a lot easier to put yourself out there. And in business, especially service providers, the people who watch, like healers, coaches, things like that, you have to put yourself out there, because otherwise no one's going to know what you do. No one's going to know the magic and the gift that you offer the world if you don't put yourself out there. So if you have this energy, this remedy that you can take that can support you in being in the world and can support you in feeling confident in sharing your gifts and sharing your voice and showing up and being visible, why wouldn't you take it? And when we did the proving, that was very much how I felt. It enhanced that kind of magnetic, sparkly, the magnetism, I guess, is the best way to put it. I felt it was very, very enhanced. So I highly recommend it. I shouldn't say that, right? We shouldn't prescribe across the board, but it's a good one.
It was really incredible. For me, it made me feel easy. Everything was easy. Everything was flowing. Like you were saying, everything was being in the flow. Because in business, what I find for me, what I tend to overdo is that, I try too hard. And sometimes I have a bioenergy worker that I consult sometimes, and she calls it in a different way, but she gets into my energy. So she kind of does what you do, and she kind of reads my energy, and she says, "You're trying too hard. Stop trying too hard. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. The stuff is there. Everything's there. Everything is good. You try too hard." And there is this thing that I feel that I have to work hard to deserve what I have. If it comes too easily, I feel guilty. So I need to prove to myself, I need to work myself. And she says to me, this is a very male energy that you have, maybe from your ancestors, maybe your father, your grandfather. There's something from your ancestors that's still in your DNA, and you feel like you have to do this. And when I took the citrine quartz, everything was easy. I didn't have to try, and I was happy.
Yeah.
I wasn't anxious about, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
No. I was doing stuff. I was doing more. Yeah. Paradoxically, I was actually working harder, but I was happier.
Yeah.
I was doing it. It was like, it was happy. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun remedy. I love that remedy. I know I keep a little bottle, even without the potentization, just the mother tincture, just the essence makes me feel good. I don't know what to say. It's like,
I feel it too. I remember also feeling very driven, very focused, just very, very aligned. Like it was easy to kind of, again, like shut up those like monkey mind thoughts and let go of like, you know, because oftentimes when we're service providers, when we're entrepreneurs, we own our own businesses, and the work that we do comes so much from the heart and soul. It feels like there's a lot on the line because this is our own personal work that we're putting out there. It's not just like a product or something that we're selling on behalf of someone else. Like, this is us, you know, our essence is kind of interwoven into everything that we do, whether it's a class or, you know, a session or whatever the case may be. And because of that, we can often second guess ourselves, or we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for it to do well. And, or we think about how painful it could be if it fails because we're so connected to it. But with the citrine, I didn't really have those thoughts. I was just kind of like, you know, whatever, it is what it is. I'm going to put out this offer. And if it sells and it does great, wonderful. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's there's something wrong with me, or there's something that I did wrong. You know, so to even have that kind of levity connected to the creative process just felt amazing.
Yes. Yeah, that's the really the holy grail, to find that kind of balance between working, doing the things that have to be done, because of course, you know, when some people talk about manifestation, and there is this misunderstanding that you're just sitting there wishing
Right.
and praying, and it's gonna turn up. Now you still have to do the things,
Right.
but it depends on the mood, the spirit in which you are doing the things. If you're coming from a place of fear, from a place of lack, or from a place of, you know, anger as well, resentment, why is this not working with me?
Right.
Then it's not going to, it's just blocking, you're just blocking yourself. And so yeah, it's really, really, it's true. It's definitely true. So how do you recalibrate yourself? How do you look after yourself in all these things that you're doing, and between family and business and energy? How do you keep your own energies, by the way, from being depleted, from giving out too much?
For me, it's about having a really good morning routine. So I wake up, I pee right away, and I hop back in bed and I open my laptop and I do morning pages from the Artist Way, which essentially it's just like a stream of consciousness where you write 3 or more pages, anything that comes to you. And it's a non-negotiable way that I have to start the day. Like, I just feel so much better, because that's what fills me up. And that's connection to myself. It's connection to spirit. It's just the way that I've learned, if I begin my day by putting out for everybody else and doing for everybody else, the day starts off depleted and I end depleted. But if I start by filling myself up first, it's a completely different scenario. You know, after I do that, I drink my tea, I take my supplements, and then I get my kids up for school. And then once they go to school, you know, I'll make myself breakfast, I'll go on a walk. And so as long as my morning routine stays intact, I feel I feel grounded, and I feel more clear, and I feel more centered. And that's something I had to build into my life. You know, it wasn't something that anyone gave me. It's something that I have to do, because I know when I do it, I'm a better person. I'm a better mother. I'm a better business owner. When I don't do it, I don't feel good, and I feel very depleted, and I feel taken advantage of, and then I feel resentful, and then I feel angry, and it's like not good for anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. And do you go back to whatever you've written in the morning, or is it just a way to
They in the book, in the Artist Way book, they say, like, you don't go back and reread your stuff. But I will tell you, I've channeled some really great workshops. I've channeled some sales pages in those mornings when I'm just doing the morning pages, and those I just copy and paste, and I use it, you know, for my own content. So so I don't go back and read it, but if I know I'm really like hitting on something that's important, I will copy and paste it and save it for, you know, another time.
Okay, that's really, really good. And do you feel that you received some kind of downloads during the night? Because what happens to me is I never thought of writing. I mean, in the morning, I'm comatose, so I couldn't until I have a gallon of coffee or something. But I am aware, that my dreams are crazy dreams, and they're crazy because they're completely real. And that's why it takes me ages to come around in the morning, because it's really like I need to come back into this dimension. I've been somewhere else. I've been traveling all night, but I wake up with things to do. It's like somebody during the night gave me a list, and I wake up with this. Oh, I need to do this, and I need to write this, and I have ideas. So is that what happens to you?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. Sometimes it's like a stream of consciousness. Sometimes I've had a dream and I want to sparse the dream out. And then what happens is I'll start writing and I'll start getting visions, and I'll start getting like, it's almost like I'm doing energy work on myself or something. I just get these feelings and I just kind of go with it. Like I'm very much in the moment. And when you write from a place of not having an agenda, right? Like not like I have to sit down and write copy for a sales page today, but you just write from this other kind of energetic space, the way the information drops in is so different. And it's, for me at least, it's like if I don't have that pressure on me and it just so happens, it's way better than if I'm like trying to squeeze, the juice out of the orange. Instead, it's like, oh, someone handed me a glass of orange juice instead, So oftentimes that's the direction it'll go in. But sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, my back really hurts. And so the first few paragraphs are just me complaining about like what I feel in my body. And then eventually it changes because you get really sick of that. You get really sick of like complaining and just talking about the same stuff, So it's different every day, but I really highly recommend that practice. And I highly recommend the book, especially if you're a creative. So.
Yeah, sounds really good. What, can you repeat the title again?
It's called The Artist Way. The Artist Way.
The Artist Way. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Need to bear that in mind. And do you also do meditations and other practices?
I don't meditate all the time. A lot of times what will happen is I will feel like, okay, there's something here that I need to see. And I kind of will go into a journey with that more than like, I feel like my morning pages is kind of like my meditation practice. So I don't add meditation to it, but I try to regulate my nervous system kind of all day long, because for me, that feels like very, very important part of my healing journey.
Okay. That's really, really interesting, because there is so much. I mean, everybody does meditation these days, and, all sorts of visualization. I am not super. I wish I was better at it. I wish I was more patient with it. But I do try. I feel like if I were more disciplined with my intuition, a lot of things, although I don't know, because again, there is that kind of trying to force and trying too hard. I really do get thoughts and concepts that literally drop in front of me, and they're such gifts. It's amazing. And I think there's again that kind of sense of guilt. I didn't work hard enough to get.
See, Giovanna, that's the constellation you need. That's what you need to get rid of that feeling of like, I didn't work hard enough, or I have to work really hard.
Yeah, I really, really need to. Yeah, I need to address that because I can really see it now.
Yeah,
I can really see it. It's definitely there. So
yeah,
it's not serving me. So how do people find you, contact you?
Yeah. So my website is www.mallorymcclelland.com. And on there, there's a pop-up. And if you want to book a call with me, a free 20-minute discovery call, you can. And in the discovery call, we just kind of talk about what's going on in your life. And I'll tell you how I can support you. And then from there, you can decide to move forward with the work or not. Sometimes the prescription is just an energy healing session. Other times it's kind of a longer term package, you know, working together for like 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And other times it's a constellation. So it all depends. And I use that moment of the discovery call to really kind of tune into what the issue is and then feel, okay, out of all the tools and things I offer, what's going to be the best suited solution for the client. And that's the way I work.
That's great. Thank you very much. And what was do you have a favorite case or, a fabulous success that you want to share?
Oh, this is good. I need a moment to think about it. You know, this isn't just a case. It's more about a theme. So I was doing the medical intuitive work for complex kids and their families. And I actually had a dream, and the kids came to me in the dream and they said, "We love what you're doing, and you're really helping us, and you're helping our families, but we need you to teach our moms how to do what you do." And so I created my course called Awaken the Healer Within, the ultimate guide to trusting your mother's intuition. And I've had, hundreds of women in that course, and to watch them walk in feeling helpless and feeling afraid and feeling disempowered and disconnected from themselves. And then when they leave the class 6 weeks later, to see the difference in how much they trust themselves and they trust their inner voice and they trust their ability. And they even trust that they're the right mother for that child is one of the most miraculous things that I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. That's that's amazing. Did you share with the mother, with that child's mother, the dream?
In the class, I would just teach them how to tune into their kids, teach them how to tune into themselves, teach them how to feel energy, teach them how to telepathically communicate with the child, which is really powerful, especially when the child is not verbal yet or they're nonverbal. It's really important to have a way to be able to communicate. And so them having that and them getting to connect to the child at the soul level, not just the physical, looking at their kid thinking like the kid doesn't understand me or they're not communicating with me, and going to that deeper place, I feel has been one of the most revolutionary things I've had the honor of just being an instrument for. That wasn't me doing the work. That was just me saying, hey, this is how you can do it. And them stepping into it and becoming empowered and developing that skill. So.
Yeah, that's really important, because from my point of view, I have much more success when I see a parent, when I'm working with a parent who is really connected with their child. Definitely that makes such a difference, because I have had cases where the mother just doesn't give me any answers. She's not connected. She does not know how to connect. She has no, she does not observe. And I find it really hard, even answering, asking questions, any question, what do you feel like your child is feeling? And they absolutely have no idea. And that makes the healing so much harder. So definitely it is super important that as parents we learn the skills. It makes everything, the whole family, I mean, it's an amazing service that you provide, because obviously this is for the whole family. So yeah, definitely. Anything that you're working on? Do you have any courses?
I have a constellation workshop coming up on August 30th, and it's all about healing birth trauma. So healing trauma that happened at conception, in utero, during the birthing process, because all of that can leave a lasting impact on our lives. The patterns can often start there. So that's the workshop. And then, excuse me, in September's for Success. So I'm going to be doing intuitive business coaching membership, as well as a workshop on money and abundance, and a workshop on being seen and visibility. So I have those all coming up if you're interested.
Fantastic. And they're all on your website. So yeah.
Yep, they'll be on my website.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we have run out of time. There would be so much more to talk about, but thank you so much. It was really great. It was a pleasure. I hope.
Thank you.
It was. I'm sure it was interesting for everybody. This has been really, really great for me to talk to you again. And you can come back if you want with new stuff. And thank you very much to everybody, and have a fabulous weekend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Giovanna. Thank you, everyone who tuned in and listened.
Thank you. Bye.
This show is not intended to diagnose, prevent, or treat any diseases or illnesses. The information presented within cannot substitute the advice of your physician or other trained healthcare professionals. The content of this show is for educational purposes only and is the expressed opinion of the show host and guests.